Salvatore lucky. Luciano was not born into greatness. He was born into grinding Sicilian poverty, in a dusty village where people learned early that strength mattered more than honesty. His father worked long days in sulfur mines, came home exhausted, and still couldn't feed the family properly. Luciano grew up watching men bow to landlords, to bosses, to anyone with money. It planted a seed in him. A quiet anger, a belief that only power protects a man. When his family migrated to New York, they found themselves in the chaotic Lower East Side. Overcrowded, loud, and filled with street gangs, Luciano saw kids his age running protection rackets, selling drugs, stealing goods. There was no police presence, no rules, only survival. It didn't take long before Luciano started skipping school and spending more time watching how the street leaders operated. By the age of 10, Luciano was running errands for older gang members. He delivered heroin packets hidden in newspapers, carried messages between criminals, and learned the code of silence. His parents tried to stop him, but the streets held him tighter than home ever could. He saw crime as a profession, one where he could rise fast. One day, Luciano tried to bully a thin, calm Jewish boy named Meyer Lansky for protection money Lansky refused. Luciano was impressed. Nobody refused him. That moment created a partnership that would shape the American underworld. Luciano saw Lansky's intelligence. Lansky saw Luciano's fire. Together, they became something dangerous. Criminals who knew how to think. Luciano and Lansky soon added Benjamin Bugsy Siegel to their circle. Siegel was fearless, the kind of man who acted first and thought later. He carried guns, robbed pushcarts, and attacked rival gangs without hesitation. Luciano became the strategist, Lansky the planner, Siegel the enforcer. They were still teenagers, but already feared. Luciano eventually joined the infamous 5 Points gang, led by Paul Kelly. This gang wasn't childish street play. It was organized, disciplined, and ruthless. Here, Luciano learned advanced criminal operations: extortion, bootlegging, money laundering, political bribery, and silent murders. The gang shaped him into a professional. At age 18, Luciano was kidnapped, beaten, stabbed, and left for dead on a Staten Island beach. He survived, but the attack left him with a drooping eye and permanent scars. People began calling him lucky, not just because he survived, but because fate always seemed to lean his way. Luciano embraced the name. It made him sound untouchable. When the US banned alcohol in 1920, Luciano saw opportunity. Bootlegging became the new gold mine. He partnered with Lansky and Siegel to smuggle high-quality liquor from Canada, the Caribbean, and Europe. They bribed police, bought politicians, and built distribution networks that rivaled major companies. The profits were enormous, and the violence even bigger. Luciano joined the powerful Sicilian Mafia boss Giuseppe "Joe the Boss" Masseria. But Masseria was old-fashioned, stubborn, and resistant to change. He hated alliances with Jewish and Irish criminals. Luciano, who believed in cooperation for profit, quietly grew frustrated. He followed orders, but he was secretly planning his future. Behind Masseria's back, Luciano also built a secret relationship with another rising boss, Salvatore Maranzano. He pretended loyalty to both men, waiting for the right moment. It was dangerous, but Luciano knew something. If the old Mafia didn't evolve, it would die. And he was ready to push it forward, violently if necessary. A brutal war erupted between Masseria and Maranzano for control of the Italian underworld. Murders became daily events. Streets ran with blood. Both sides lost soldiers. But while the older bosses fought over tradition, Luciano saw a future where all races of criminals could work together like corporations. Luciano wanted a world where Italian, Jewish, and Irish gangsters split profits, avoided pointless turf wars, and ran crime like a business. It was a revolutionary idea, and extremely dangerous. Old bosses believed mixing with non-Italians was betrayal. Luciano didn't care. Money was his religion. Luciano realized Masseria was the main obstacle to modernizing the Mafia. So he made a deal with Maranzano. Masseria for peace. Luciano invited Masseria to a lunch meeting at Coney Island. Then he excused himself to use the restroom. Moments later, Siegel and 3 others walked in and gunned Masseria down. It was a clean execution, and Luciano walked out a free man, not touched by suspicion. After Masseria's death, Maranzano declared himself the supreme mafia leader. But Luciano quickly saw that Maranzano was just another old-fashioned dictator. He wanted respect, obedience, and total control. The very things Luciano hated. Luciano had removed one king only to see another rise. He decided to remove Maranzano too. He sent a team of Jewish hitmen, disguised as tax agents, to Maranzano's office. They stabbed and shot him repeatedly. In 1 year, Luciano eliminated both bosses. The Mafia had never seen anything like him. With the old guard gone, Luciano built something new. The Commission, a national governing body for organized crime. It included leaders from every major family, allowing disputes to be settled peacefully and profits shared fairly. No more single boss of bosses. Luciano turned the Mafia into a corporation. Luciano reorganized New York crime into 5 families, each with its own hierarchy. This structure still exists today. His plan brought order to chaos. Even his enemies admitted he was a genius. Luciano and Lansky infiltrated sugar, garment, trucking, and dockworker unions. This gave them control over shipments, strikes, and business operations. Nothing moved in New York without their approval. Luciano didn't just rule crime, he controlled the city's economy. Frank Costello, the prime minister of the Underworld, became Luciano's political mastermind. Costello bribed judges, police chiefs, and senators. Luciano handled discipline. Costello handled influence. Together, they made the Mafia untouchable. Luciano expanded into Cuba, investing in casinos and hotels. Cash flowed endlessly. Politicians were paid. Police looked the other way. For Luciano, Cuba was paradise. Warm beaches, beautiful women, and unlimited money. But paradise never lasts. Luciano loved glamour. He attended parties with movie stars, drank expensive liquor, and dressed like royalty. He wasn't hiding from the world. He wanted to be seen. His boldness made him a legend, but also painted a target on his back. New York prosecutor Thomas Dewey started a crusade against organized crime. He targeted Luciano directly, calling him the most dangerous criminal in America. Dewey raided brothels, wiretapped phones, and squeezed informants. Luciano finally had a real enemy. Dewey pinned a prostitution ring on Luciano. The evidence was questionable, but the witnesses were terrified and testified anyway. Luciano claimed innocence. But Dewey didn't care. The trial became national news. Luciano was convicted and sentenced to 30 to 50 years. Luciano was sent to a harsh, freezing prison near the Canadian border. Many thought he would die there. But even inside, his power remained. Prisoners respected him. Guards favored him. Politicians whispered about him. He was locked up, but not defeated. When German submarines attacked American ships during the war, U.S. naval intelligence needed help securing the docks. They turned to the Mafia for cooperation, and the Mafia turned to Luciano. From inside prison, he negotiated with the government. Luciano ordered his men to ensure port security, eliminate saboteurs, and provide information. The cooperation helped the U.S. war effort. Suddenly, Luciano wasn't just a prisoner. He was an asset. Because of his wartime assistance, Luciano's sentence was reduced, but on one condition: he had to leave America forever. Luciano agreed, though the decision broke him. New York was his kingdom, and he was being exiled from it. Luciano returned to Naples, but he felt like a stranger there. He spent his days drinking coffee by the sea, reminiscing about New York. Italian police watched him constantly. He was lonely, restless, and trapped. Luciano bribed officials and slipped into Cuba illegally. He wanted to rebuild his empire. Lansky helped him regain power. Casinos flourished. Money poured in, but American intelligence found out and pressured Cuba to deport him again. Luciano returned to Italy once more. This time, he knew the truth. He would never step foot in New York again. His health declined. His influence weakened. But his mind stayed sharp. He still advised the commission from afar. Men like Vito Genovese, Carlo Gambino, and Joe Bonanno began reshaping the Mafia. Luciano watched from the sidelines, angry at how some leaders twisted his original vision into greed and paranoia. Luciano always claimed he opposed heroin trafficking. Yet many believed he secretly profited from it. Rumors spread. Investigations grew. His name became a ghostly presence in every major drug case, even without proof. For a man who once controlled an empire, exile was torture. Luciano had no territory, no soldiers, no city, only memories. He spent hours staring out windows, imagining Manhattan lights at night. A scandal involving actors and narcotics suddenly pointed toward Luciano. Newspapers revived his name. Police in Italy raided his home multiple times. He felt hunted, even in old age. Luciano dreamed of creating an organized system to avoid chaos. But by the 1950s, crime families were fighting again, stabbing, shooting, and betraying each other. Everything he built was cracking. A massive meeting of mafia leaders in New York was raided by police. Dozens of mobsters were arrested. Newspapers exposed the mafia's existence. Nationwide, Luciano wasn't present, but his fingerprints were on the structure that brought them there. Lansky was chased out of Cuba. Siegel was murdered. Costello retired after a shooting. Luciano saw his circle collapse one by one. Success had a price, and it was loneliness. Luciano developed heart problems, high blood pressure, and insomnia. His once strong body was fading, yet his pride kept him standing. He refused to look weak, even when he struggled to breathe. In his final years, Luciano met with filmmakers who wanted to create a movie about his life. He hoped the film would cement his legacy, not as a hero, but as a man who changed organized crime forever. On January 26, 1962, outside the Naples airport, Luciano collapsed during a meeting with the filmmakers. His heart gave out. He died instantly. The man who survived countless assassins, wars, betrayals, and prisons died in a public place. Alone crowds lined the streets. Even enemies came to stare at the closed coffin. The man banned from America ended up buried on its soil, surrounded by the city he once owned. The commission he created outlived him. It shaped organized crime for decades. Luciano's map of New York criminal power still stands today. He replaced street brawls with boardroom thinking. Profit over pride. His mantra. To some, he was a visionary. To others, a butcher. His story holds both truths. Modern cartels and criminal networks mirror Luciano's structure. Global, coordinated, ruthless. He united Italians, Jews, and Irish criminals in a way the old world never allowed. He changed organized crime, but filled cemeteries while doing it. Power and blood walked in the same shoes. Luciano didn't just rise in the Mafia. He redesigned it, expanded it, and left behind a framework that still casts shadows.